Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Live with Dr. McDougall. This is my privilege. I'm Gustavo Tolosa, the webinar coordinator, and I have the privilege of hosting these webinars every week with Dr. McDougall. And this week, he will be talking about vaccinations and what should I do. I want to remind everybody that these webinars are recorded and they are posted in Dr. McDougall's website at drmcdougall.com. They're also posted on his YouTube channel and my YouTube channel, and you can watch them there probably sometime tonight or tomorrow. And I want to welcome everybody in the United States and everybody who is logging in from all over the world. This is a truly international audience. And I want to welcome Dr. McDougall, who is in California. Dr. McDougall is a physician and is a board-certified internist. He's been practicing for over 40 years, and he presents sound information that is based on all of his experience during these years. Dr. McDougall, welcome, and please tell us a little bit about, for those who are new to the webinars, about what you do, and we'll just jump in the topic for today.
Well, I probably should tell them what I did on Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Yeah, you know my diet, what I eat is strict vegan. But a lot of people have thoughts about being vegan, like it's a radical or a cult. And so I have told people for the last 40 years that I'm really not a strict vegan and that I have turkey every other Thanksgiving just to prove it. The turkey and I sacrifice for your benefit, so people won't be turned off by the word vegan. So the question is, was last week the Thanksgiving that I had a 2 square inch piece of turkey? Was it or wasn't it? The thing is, I never tell. But anyway, it kind of puts things in perspective. And that is that I want you to eat a diet based on starch. That's rice, corn, potatoes, beans, peas, lentils, like people have traditionally done for more than 100,000 years. We know that to be true. And if you do have animal food intake, the animal food intake is minimal for the sake of the animals, for the sake of the planet, for the sake of your own health. So I've been practicing this way for 38 years. And I've had a live-in practice for 29 years where people have come and stayed at various clinics that I run. Right now we run the clinic in Santa Rosa, California. We're starting one tomorrow, actually, in Santa Rosa, and people will come with heart disease and cancer and diabetes and just being too fat, bowel problems, all kinds of things, and they will live with us pretty much. I mean, at a resort for 10 days, so they'll be taken off almost all of their medication, only be left on medication that's necessary. They'll be supervised by a physician, educated by a dietitian, a psychologist, and I'm there every day helping take care of them. And so that's the main thing we do. And we also run advanced study weekends. We have one coming up here, I think it's February 14th. You have to check the date. We also have a Hawaii vacation coming up on January 30th. So those are the things that I do. I take care of patients. I love to take care of patients. I love to touch people, talk to people. That's what I've always done. And the other thing is we're in the midst of writing a new book. It's going to be my last book, folks. At least that's not what the book company says. The book company says there's one more we want you to write, but my plan is for it to be my last book. And then we put out the monthly newsletter. Last month's newsletter was titled Food, Sex, and Attractiveness. So if you didn't see that, I think just the title would encourage you to go to my website, look under archives, newsletter archives, and you'll see a newsletter titled Food, Sex, and Attractiveness. And there's going to be a part 2 next month of that particular theme. And then I put out a piece today that what I mentioned before we get into today's subject. I put out a piece today by Robert Goodland. Robert Goodland worked for the World Food Bank. He was the climate advisor. And I got to know him because he came to our September 2013 Advanced Study Weekend, and he spoke about what we need to do to save planet Earth. And the key card that we can play is to change our diet. I know right now we're having a climate conference in Paris. All the world leaders are there, and they're talking about windmills and solar panels and making cars and trains more efficient. Well, those are all really important things to do, but the main card that is not being discussed is the food. Over half the greenhouse gases are being produced by livestock production. Now, why that subject is not allowed to be on the table, I don't know. I did my part by putting Robert Goodland's speech out last week and also today. Take the trouble of looking at it. You can go back to the 2007 World Health Organization report on the climate. They say 18% of the greenhouse gases are produced by livestock production, but the estimate, World Watch says more than 51%. And see, we can turn that off today, this afternoon. You can turn off that contribution to global warming, to climate change, just by choosing potatoes instead of steaks, just by choosing corn instead of cows. You know, it's something every individual can make a statement by doing and tell all your friends and neighbors. And, you know, if by some chance we made that change as planet Earth, we would have a chance of saving planet Earth. It's not too far gone, I believe, or at least I suppose, from what I know, it's not too far gone to save, but we have to play the food card. So that's going on today. Anyway, the subject today was immunizations. There have been several things that have been done in the world that have made a difference in people's lives, that have made a difference in patterns of disease, instances of disease. And these things are better nutrition, you know, like having food available, sanitation, and immunization, which is really vaccination. You can get immunized naturally. If you get immunized unnaturally, in other words, by the doctor, then we call that vaccination. And those three things have made a difference in the incidence of disease in the modern era. Maybe antibiotics, but probably not. Probably just those three: better nutrition, sanitation, and immunization, or more properly called vaccination. The thing about vaccination is that it's important, very important. But there's one vaccination program that really stands out to all of you. You don't go to your grocery store, have somebody trying to get you to take polio immunization or diphtheria or tetanus. What happens every time you go to the grocery store is you get a plea to get a flu shot. And that has troubled me greatly. And so I wrote a newsletter about flu shots last year, November, I believe it was. I just want to share some of the things that are important about flu immunizations that make them different than other vaccination programs. And I put together just a couple of slides to help us talk about it. You should avoid vaccinations, flu vaccines. If you go to the grocery store or the drugstore, you see ads like this. Every time I call the pharmacy to call on a prescription, I have to listen to 15 to 30 seconds of advertisement about how I could get the flu vaccine at CVS pharmacy or whatever pharmacy, discount price. I was actually at Walmart a couple of weeks ago, and the pharmacist actually told me, because I was over 65, I was on Medicare, that I could have my flu shot for free. And I asked the pharmacist if she had evidence that the flu shot would do me more good than harm, and she just got this weird look on her face, like, what am I, crazy? Everybody knows the flu shot works. Flu shots, this is an ad from Safeway. All kinds of pharmacies. Keep your family protected, get your flu shots, Rite Aid, CVS. I was driving past CVS just yesterday, and even though the drive-through window was broken, they had a great big sign in the driveway that said, come on in and get your flu shot. So people are really on the flu shot bandwagon. There's actually a website that tells you about 24 awesome flu shot marketing strategies. When you see that much marketing going on, you must think, oh, these people are so wonderful. They're trying to help me and my family keep away from getting sick. They're just so wonderful. What great people. Or you might think there's a lot of money going on. And what it is there's a lot of money going on in the flu shot business. But does it work? Well, the CDC said for last year, that would be the 2014 flu season, the vaccine was only 23% effective, and that's a relative 23%. That's not an absolute 23%. Let's take a look at some of the reports that I put in my November 2014 newsletters, and I reviewed the reviews that look at the effectiveness of flu vaccine. The 2010 Cochrane Review found no benefits from vaccinating the elderly. The 2012 Cochrane Review showed little benefit of children, no benefits for those 2 years and younger. 28 children over the age of 6 need to be vaccinated to prevent 1 case of influenza. The Lancet in 2012 reviewed the effectiveness of these vaccines. They showed little benefit in adults. Evidence for consistent high-level protection was elusive for the present generation of vaccines, especially in individuals at risk of medical complications or those age 65 or older. 2013 Cochrane Review found no benefits for healthcare workers or for preventing influenza in elderly residents in long-term care facilities. Now, this one's particularly important to me because I get emails all the time that say my employer won't allow me to come to work unless I get a flu vaccine. And some people don't want to get them, and they just can't get out of it. Their job is at stake. 2014 European Review found that the 2012-2013 influenza vaccine had low to moderate effectiveness and recommended that seasonal influenza vaccines be improved to achieve acceptable protection levels. 2014 Cochrane Review found that the preventive effect of healthy adults was small. At least 40 people would need vaccination to avoid 1 influenza-like illness. No effect on working days lost or hospitalization seen. Benefits for pregnant women were uncertain or at least very mild. Now, the reason that these vaccines are so ineffective is that these vaccines, they're made by introducing foreign material into the body, be this a smallpox type of material or a diphtheria type of material, some type of protein from a disease, a bacteria, a virus, etc., is injected or inhaled into the body. And like you see here pictured, this green virus, this would be a natural immunization where naturally a virus gets into the body, or it could be a part of a virus or a part of a bacteria that was inhaled or injected into the body. So you have this foreign substance, this virus, this thing that you want to get rid of in the body, and somehow it's passed through the lung tissue or passed through the skin, and now it's in the bloodstream. So the body makes antibodies, which is the yellow and blue figures that you see there, antibodies to this virus, and it's a lock and key mechanism that's just specific for that particular virus. So the antibody goes out and attaches to a specific segment of certain amino acids in a certain configuration. It attaches to those, and after about 2 weeks, the body produces enough antibody to kill that virus, and then you get well over, say, the next 4 weeks. The body has the ability to remember foreign proteins that have come into it, and so after the virus or bacteria is completely gone from the body, the antibodies still remember that particular virus, and so, or bacteria, and so the next time that virus or bacteria comes in, because the body remembers it, the antibodies can be quickly produced. They don't have to wait for that 2-week period of time for them to learn about the virus and to make the antibody proteins. Because they had contact before, there's memory, so the antibody immediately is produced, goes out and kills the virus. This is why you only get chicken pox once, or you only get measles once, because if that virus comes in again, you have the memory of it, and the body just makes antibodies and attacks it. The problem with the influenza is the flu viruses. They're different every year, and because they're different, the body doesn't have memory of the flu viruses that's coming this year, unless it happens to be last year or the years before or the years before that virus. Then it has the memory. The way they make the vaccines is they take viruses from previous years, and they make a antibody mixture against that virus, which they give through the nose or through a shot. But we don't know what the new virus is that's coming in, say, 2015, 2016. We're only guessing by picking 3 or 4 viruses that came in 2012, 2013, 2014, and hoping those same viruses come back so that we can have an effective vaccine. But the same viruses don't come back. New viruses come back that this flu vaccine is not prepared to deal with, because they're new viruses, and that's why they're ineffective. Let's see. I did the last Cochrane review for you that just came out February 2015, and that was in the European Journal of Clinical Microbiology and Infectious Disease. And the conclusion, which you can see here in yellow, but generally the quality of the studies was low, and several studies lacked hard endpoints, and data on adverse effects were scarce. There was an effect found, but not much, and of not great scientific value. And they said the reason that the studies that are out there that show a positive effect, the reason they show a positive effect is because of a healthy user. Most evidence of the efficacy of influenza vaccination stems from observational studies, and the benefits are largely attributed to a confounder known as the healthy vaccine recipient effect. And that means healthy individuals are more likely to get vaccinated and have better outcomes. It's a selection bias. When the studies show that by observation, the people who got the vaccine had less risk of infection and less complications. It's because they started out as healthier people in the first place. So what do I do about vaccines? I want you to know that I have all of my children and all of my grandchildren fully vaccinated for hepatitis A, hepatitis B, diphtheria, tetanus, polio. When we travel to different parts of the world, we get the selected vaccines that are recommended for those areas. I've seen tetanus. I've seen polio. I still see hepatitis B. These are real diseases, and I believe the vaccines work because, again, this same virus comes around and attacks. It's not a new form of polio virus that comes in every year, or a new form of diphtheria virus. It's the same old darn virus. So the body has memory to those viruses, and once you're vaccinated, that memory stays for a long time. They say, you should get revaccinated maybe 6 to 10 years with some vaccines, but that memory holds for a long time. But I don't have my family vaccinated for flu. And the reason is because the questionable effectiveness, and most of that effectiveness is seen in studies paid for by drug companies. They're observational studies, and it's looking at the healthy user effect. When the swine flu came around the first time, I was a young doctor. It was maybe 1979. And 2 of my patients got the swine flu vaccine. 2 of them got it, developed paraplegia. In other words, they had transverse myelitis and they never walked again from the swine flu vaccine. That made a big effect on me. But still, I myself personally would get flu vaccines several times, say, during the next 2 decades. And my observation was that the years I got the flu vaccine, I was the sickest. So I stopped. This is personal information now. So I stopped getting the vaccines personally or for my family. And then about 3 years ago, they had another swine flu epidemic. And at that time, they didn't have enough material to give out to all the people to get everybody immunized. But healthcare workers were allowed to get the vaccines. And so I applied because it seemed like it was going to be a really terrible, terrible disease. So I applied and I got 19 shots to cover my family and my healthcare workers. And I put those shots, those injections in my refrigerator. And I said to myself, when my next door neighbor dies of swine flu, I'm going to vaccinate my family. Now, I think we threw those 19 shots in a vial out. But, believe me, I would have to be pretty convinced it was going to do more good than harm for me to immunize my family with influenza vaccine. You look at the data, you make your choice. I've looked at the data, presented it to you as I see it, and you'll take whatever action you want. The 2 questions that are going to come up to me are, what about shingles vaccine? And personally, Mary and I have both had the shingles vaccine. Again, it's not a changing virus. It's the chickenpox virus, basically. And it's stable, and so you can build up memory and immunity through your antibody system. So I hope that reduces our risk of getting shingles. It's a terrible, terrible thing to get. And they're developing better pneumococcal vaccines for pneumococcal pneumonia. And I plan sometime soon, whenever I get around to thinking about it, buying those vaccines also for Mary and I. So that's the picture on influenza. It's just a moving target. The new viruses every year. They can't make the vaccine for the new virus because it hadn't appeared yet. Do we have any questions, Gustavo? No, I want to add one more thing. So how do you prevent getting the flu? What can you do for yourself? Well, you can wash your hands. That would be a good idea. Wash your hands. Yeah. And I did have a couple more slides here. I had the hand washing slide here. And that wasn't the right button to push. Let's see what we got here. And we didn't get that to come up, so maybe we won't. Not that really that important, the slides.
All right.
Screen share. You know what? That's just not going to work for me this time. So let's go to some questions.
Very good. Dr. McDougall, would you lower your volume from your computer? That way we don't have the feedback. Very good. Could you just, in a few words, explain what shingles is?
Well, shingles is the chicken pox virus that lays dormant after you get chicken pox. It lays dormant in a segment of your nervous system, like in a particular nerve, and somehow or another it gets reactivated later on in life, and then you get this terrible blistering, like I've seen it on the face. How's the volume now? Is it okay? Okay.
Yes.
Kind of a blistering, very painful. I've seen people disabled for 4 to 6 weeks. I mean, basically not being able to do anything because of this outbreak. It's a localized outbreak. Is there any way to prevent it? Well, maybe the shingles vaccine will do it. Certainly, there's data that says it does, and it was convincing enough for me to spend $300 to $400 a shot for Mary and I. Once you get it, there's not much, you're pretty much stuck. You can take, there are some antiviral pills that you can take. I forget the name of them right now, but when you get the first signs of it, you can get on these antiviral pills that may block the advance of the disease. They're not very effective.
Is that a one-time vaccination, or it's a
one-time vaccination? As far as I'm aware, people have ask whether or not they need to be revaccinated, and I can't bring it up on the latest data on that, but it's a long-term memory of this particular virus. So I don't have in mind right now if there are any recommendations as to getting it again. I seem to think that they're not strong recommendations, so they're still thinking about it.
What about the recommendation for age? At what age should someone?
Oh, a good question again. Something I probably should become more of an expert on. We got ours at, I think it's around 60 they recommended. But again, you can go right to the internet and get a better estimate on that.
Right. What about people that either volunteer or they work at a hospital, and hospitals actually, they just require you to get. They
require you to do that, but they can't. One of the studies I showed you under that large review page, they haven't shown effectiveness in preventing other people from getting the flu or reducing the work days that people have been sick. When you get a chance to review this video, you'll see that in the newest evaluation, and also in one of the previous evaluations that were done by Cochrane or Europe. It's on that page. Or you can go to the November 2014 newsletter. November 2014, you'll have links to all those studies. So you can just hit on the study and it'll bring the actual links up, the reviews, the papers, and you can look at them yourself. But that's been, that's, as I say, many people who work in healthcare facilities, they're required to get the flu vaccine and they don't want to get it. Well, if you took that particular review to your employer and said, well, look here, it shows no benefit to the patient or the worker. Why do we have to do this? You probably get no better answer, but the data out there does not support it.
Right.
Except for observational studies and the healthy user effect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, very good. You mentioned earlier, Dr. McDougall, the pneumonia, I think, vaccination.
Yeah, there's a pneumonia vaccine. It comes out. It improves every year, and it's against different types of pneumococcal bacteria. And every year or so, they get a new one. They just got a new one out. And as I say, that's something that I will personally take advantage of when I think about it. When I get around to I'll have to meet somebody who gets pneumonia and that'll remind me Mary and I should get the pneumococcal vaccine.
Okay, all right. So what about
vaccination? I hope you get the message. There are a lot of people out there that I'm sure are upset with me and surprised with me when I am in favor of vaccination. So, I've seen these diseases. I don't want to throw, as they say, throw the baby out with the wash water.
Yes.
Take advantage of what works. And these vaccinations, I believe, do work. The flu vaccine is a whole different story, as I told you, and I told you why. And it's a real big sales pitch. You go call your pharmacy right now, the pharmacy department. I bet 9 out of 10 times you'll get an advertisement for a flu shot. You walk into the grocery store, they'll give you 10% off on your groceries if you'll agree to get a flu shot. There's got to be something going on there more than the care of you and your family.
Exactly. Now, a lot of people are wondering here, and of course I've wondered this before, what about all the other ingredients that they put in the vaccines?
Well, they put mercury in the...
aluminum, etc.
Right, but there's not aluminum in the influenza vaccine. There is mercury in the multivial influenza vaccine, and mercury is known to be neurotoxic, and there's great concern about that. And that's all discussed in that November 2014 newsletter. Aluminum is put in other vaccinations because it acts as an adjuvant. What it does is it causes, it's an irritant. So when the aluminum goes in with the, the killed or live virus, it stirs up the tissues and causes the body's antibody system to focus on that area of inflammation. It acts, we call it an adjunct. And so the aluminum causes an enhanced inflammatory response. So you get more attention from the immune system on that particular area where the bacteria or the bacterial viral protein happens to lay right next to the aluminum. It enhances the effectiveness of the protein that you really want to be have the immune system be knowledgeable about, so it can prevent a second infection.
So do all vaccines have any of these components or some, or is it just...
Well, influenza does not have aluminum. The single dose influenza does not have mercury. The multi-dose vial, in other words, if you get several shots out of one bottle, that has mercury in it. Yeah.
Okay. What about the pneumonia or the hepatitis?
I would have to look up what they use as enhancers, adjuvants, preservatives. These are preservatives and adjuvants is what they are. It'd be easy to find on the internet.
Right. So someone has mentioned something that I'm not sure. Did you know that vaccinations are exempt from lawsuits? Yeah,
I've heard that. Sure, yes.
Okay.
And see, an excuse that they use, I don't know a lot about it, but the excuse they use is it becomes cost ineffective.
Right.
Because they have to make a new vaccine every year. It's not like you make one kind of diphtheria, because diphtheria doesn't change, or tetanus doesn't change. So you develop your formula and it's easy to produce. Whereas the flu, every year you got to go out and find the viruses that have infected previous seasons. You have to make a whole new vaccine. And so what they say is that would be financially too cost ineffective for us to be in the vaccine business. So that's why they give an exemption.
Right. Okay.
Right. So what they need to do is they need to figure out a way to make a vaccine. I don't want to get the flu. The flu is a horrible thing, and they need to figure out a way to make a vaccine that works. In other words, they need to find a vaccine that is broader in its coverage, will attack some part of these flu viruses that are similar, so that they can get the vaccine working against some segment of the new virus that's coming. Unfortunately, they're not so good at that, and that's what the reviews show. Again, a good share of the studies, if you look at the reviews, a good share of the studies are paid for by the drug industry, and almost all the studies, I think all of them, are observational. And you just look and you see who got the flu shot and who got the flu. Right. But as I said a couple of times, the people who get the flu shots are healthier people. So it's a healthy user effect. They're more likely, healthy people to take better care of themselves, so they're more likely to get a flu shot because they think that's going to give them better care. And that's the bias, that's the co-founder that makes these vaccinations seem to be effective.
Right. What are your thoughts on someone who has already had shingles? Should they go ahead and get the vaccine or not?
I don't. That's a question I've looked into a little bit, and I don't have the answer to that either.
Okay.
I'm sure there are various opinions you can find out there. I don't know if you can find any official statements.
Okay. All right. Someone here is asking about what about vaccines for a breastfeeding baby?
Well, influenza vaccines are recommended during for little children and during pregnancy. I do know that. The one thing I can talk to you to some degree of knowledge is the influenza vaccine. I am not a vaccination expert in the sense that I've dedicated my life to, how often, when you should have diphtheria, tetanus shots, when you should have polio shots. That would be too much for me to remember unless I was an immunization expert. I just took on this flu thing last year because it was just driving me crazy. Why is everybody trying to give me a free Mercedes if I get my family vaccinated? I mean, not really, but they'll give me 10% off of my groceries, and they'll give me the flu shot free. The lady told me, the pharmacist says, "We give you the flu shot free. You're Medicare age." And I said, "Show me where it works." Mm-hmm. And of course, she was a little bit shocked that I said that. And I said, "Well, here, go to your website. Look at my November 2014 newsletter." I said, "There's the data from Cochrane reviews, big reviews, that says its benefits are little at best, questionable." And that's not the way it's sold to the public. You see, if it was sold to the public that way, based upon what the data really shows, it would be fair. But they're not being truthful. You give you the idea, if you get a flu shot, you're not going to get the flu. That's been proven, and that's not the case. The people who review the data have come to the conclusion that its effectiveness is questionable, minimal, very hard to show the benefits. And I gave you the reviews and the links. So you go look at all the studies yourself,
right? And
then you can try and find the reviews that say otherwise, and you're going to come up lacking. You'll find some studies by the drug companies that are more favorable, but the reason they're more favorable is because of the way they do their studies, and then you cheat. Yeah, they cheat too.
They have to cheat, of course.
They got to cheat.
We will go ahead and put those links to the studies later on in the.
You can. It's just my November 2014 newsletter. They're all, these days I don't even have to do citations. I just do links. And you click the little orange link and boom, there's the PDF.
And that's it.
Isn't that amazing?
It is. It's amazing. There's someone here, Robin, who says, why do you feel the need to vaccinate against diseases that are so mild in a healthy child that they are really of no concern, like, for example, chickenpox?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's a fair question. When I was a little boy, we got chickenpox. I still got a few scars on my head from chickenpox, and didn't seem to be such a big deal. And measles and mumps, we all got those diseases because there were no immunization programs. And now people are asked, even my children or my grandchildren are asked to get to these common childhood diseases to get vaccinations for them. So I think that Rob has a fair question. And I have thought many times about my kids and grandkids that they ought to just get the chickenpox and the measles and the mumps, because I did, and hardly anybody got very ill. And the effectiveness of being infected by the real organism is much more solid than what you get from getting the shots. It's a much firmer impact on the immune system, and has a longer effectiveness. And this is why you have to get multiple shots when you get the mumps, measles, and pertussis vaccines. They were in polio and multiple ones because the vaccination material is not the same as the real live virus that infects you. So, if somebody made that choice for these common childhood diseases in their family, and made the personal choice not to do it, I would think that their thinking is not terrible. But as I say, I see hepatitis A, hepatitis B all the time. And people come up to me and they say, well, there's no more polio. Well, there is polio in the world. And they say there's There's no problem. My kid's not going to get hepatitis because I got a good kid. My kid's not going to. Hey, your kid's going to get tattooed. Your kid's going to share fluids with other people. Don't kid yourself. And the other thing to think about when somebody says, "Well, we don't see these diseases anymore," but that's today. You don't know what the world's going to be like next week. Whereas the threat of polio is almost nothing in the United States. This world could turn upside down in a week. And the other thing is if I could get a hold of smallpox vaccine, I'd give it to all my family. I got smallpox vaccination when I was a young child. There's a biologic warfare that could turn out anytime. Mm-hmm. There are stores of smallpox all around the world, and this could be used as a biologic war weapon. Right. So if I could get a hold of smallpox vaccine, I haven't been able to. I've looked at it several times. All my kids would have it.
Right.
I know the anti-vaccination people out there, you're getting mad as heck. But again, you don't throw the baby out with the wash water. Use stuff that works. As I mentioned before, good nutrition, sanitation, and vaccinations are the only three things that have changed the incidence and harm from diseases in all of human history.
Right. Dr. McDougall, does having intact tonsils make any difference in protecting against the flu or any other? Someone is asking, does having intact tonsils help protect against flu?
Having an impact. I'm still not getting that word.
Intact, like having them in your body, not taken out.
Okay, so say one more time, because I'm still
not. Maybe you can read it here in the chat.
No, I'm not getting any chat on my.
It's okay. It says, does having intact tonsils?
Oh, intact tonsils. Got it. Yeah, the tonsils are very important. Tonsils are your first defense against incoming foreign substances. That's something called the Wallerian ring. You've got your adenoids and your tonsils, and they're there for a reason, and that is one of your first lines of defense. So I would, I don't have studies at hand, but I would believe that nature or God did not make a mistake by putting these lymphoid tissues there where they are. The problem is with tonsils. The reason I lost my tonsils, and the reason that many kids have enlarged tonsils and may have their tonsils removed, is that area of the immune system, right back behind your teeth, gets bombarded all day long by foreign proteins that cause the tonsils to react. And the main foreign protein that does that is cow milk protein. The cow milk protein, being foreign, comes in the body. The body recognizes it first at the tonsils and adenoids as a foreign attacking a substance that is dangerous, and so it produces more lymphoid tissue, and the tonsils get very enlarged. And being stimulated every day by 1 to 3 gallons of milk and cheese and so on a day, the tonsils get very big. There was a doctor named Boat who published a study back about 30 years ago on kids who had such big tonsils that they were having respiratory distress. They had trouble breathing. I mean, the kids were very, very sick. And he took the kids off the milk products, and their tonsil enlargement just disappeared. And their breathing returned to normal. This is published. You'll find the reference to that in the McDougall Plan book. And his name is Boat, and it was probably under the dairy chapter. And I bet you can find that study someplace. I know I have it down in my basement. or I keep all that stuff that the only way you could get it was going through the library. There was no computer available when I started gathering this stuff. So tonsils are important. They're not there by mistake. Right. And they mainly get enlarged because of consumption of cow's milk protein.
Very good. There's someone who has asked a question that several people are saying that they would like for me to ask this question to you, and it is, the data that you included in your newsletter on flu vaccines indicates that vaccines made negligible impact on infectious disease incidence. Do you dispute this data?
I'm going to have to turn this up a little bit.
Yes,
In the
go ahead.
November of 2014 newsletter, I gave you reviews of Cochrane and various other. I can pull this up here. Let's take a look. What were they? Those are all the reviews. I mean, I didn't hide any. Those are all the reviews that were available at that particular time. And I'll go to the newsletter right now. There's a whole box. You've got the Cochrane review, the Lancet Infectious Disease reviews. You got the European review. If you just click on them, the PDF, most of them will just come up. So what was the question? But you can read what they said.
Yeah, I will read it exactly because I'm not sure. Maybe they can clarify the question. It says, the data that you included in your newsletter on flu vaccines indicates that vaccines made negligible impact on infectious disease incidence. Do you dispute this data?
No, I put the data there because I believe it's true. But we're not talking about infectious disease in general. We're talking about flu.
Right.
About flu, like the 2010 Cochrane review found no benefits from vaccinating the elderly. 2012 review showed little benefit for children, no benefits for those 2 years or younger. You had to vaccinate 28 kids over the age of 6 to see a benefit. So no, all the reviews show what I've been trying to explain, and that is that these flu shots that are so heavily advertised and promoted have been shown to have little benefit. No, that's the thing here. Somebody asked about people who are healthcare workers. It's right there. It's the 2013 Cochrane review found no benefits for healthcare workers or for preventing influenza in elderly residents in long-term care facilities. Now that's the direct answer to that question: is are there benefits for healthcare workers? The Cochrane review says no, and you didn't protect elderly residents from getting flu if the workers were vaccinated. Mm-hmm. So you just click on that. Let's see if it'll pull up a PDF for me.
Well, Robin is here clarifying the question, says, in regard to my question, I was referring to the current newsletter regarding incidence of polio, measles, etc.
Well, we're not talking about polio and measles. All my children have polio immunizations. Okay. All of them have measles, again, because that's a stable antigen.
Right.
That's a stable agent, bacteria, virus, etc., that doesn't change every year, and so you can make a good vaccine against it. Whereas if you have this unstable virus coming through, in other words, 1 year it has one genotype, and the next year it has another genotype, and you make a vaccine for last year's and the years before, and those particular viruses don't come through, but another one comes through that you haven't made a vaccine that's specific, like lock and key. It's got to be the same, that will attack that new virus because it's a new virus. The body is completely unknowledgeable about that virus. It has to gain knowledge of that virus. When the virus gets inside the body, it makes antibodies. It takes about 2 weeks for those antibodies to be produced specifically for that new virus. Now, if that new virus of, say, 2015 came again next year, 2016, you'd have the antibody for it from the vaccination you got in 2015. But somehow or another, that new virus is coming, and as a result, you get such low effectiveness.
Right.
And everybody knows this in the business. And they're trying to explain away why you should still get a flu shot. They do something like the CDC will say, well, the virus didn't work very well. I gave you a statement they made that the flu shot was relatively ineffective. But then they turn around and they say you should get it anyways. Well, it said it didn't work. The reviews say it's of limited benefit. Why should we do it anyways? But that's what they say, I don't know. Maybe they work for a drug company sometime or another, or the drug companies are a huge influence in the flu shot business. I mean, good grief! Just look around you. Just drive down the street, drive to your grocery store. It's why are they promoting it so much, especially when it says it's so little effectiveness, such little effectiveness.
Right. And
then I gave you the last review, the newest one I could find, a review of Cochrane, and they said the same thing. The benefits are few, and they're based on observational studies. And if you read the entire article, you'll see, and other articles, that the studies are heavily influenced by industry.
So there are many questions here that unfortunately we won't be able to get to them because we're running out of time. So you would recommend the newsletter from this month,
November
last
2014.
year?
Yeah. Also, this month's newsletter, which is November of 2015. I put in that newsletter, I put the latest update, latest Cochrane review, which I showed you on the little slide presentation, coming to the same conclusion. You know, the benefits are of questionable value. And so you can read that particular study in the November 2015 newsletter. That was the second article. What I do is I publish an article I'd written in the past and update it, like how I treat high blood pressure. There was all this talk from the SPIRIT study about how you should be more aggressive about treating high blood pressure than in the past. Well, you know, once the study came out, you also did a lot of harm by being aggressive. So, you know, in that particular study, they stopped it ahead of time, which biases the study towards the effectiveness of drugs. They left out in the initial reports the harm that was done to people by aggressively treating their blood pressure. You know, their chances of falling, developing low potassium, a whole bunch of adverse effects, and you had to wait a couple of months to see the rest of the story, as they say. So what I do is in the newsletter, I'll often take a previous article I wrote, say that blood pressure article I wrote in 2009. A big article comes out in the news about a month ago about how we should be more, or 2 months ago, about how we should be 3 months ago. We should be more aggressive. And you have very little data to see what that's based on because they release the results ahead of time for the good of the public. And anyway, I try and write a second newsletter article because people need to read it again. They need to hear the update. And so that's what I did this month. I wrote a update on influenza vaccine. I gave you the latest Cochrane reviews saying the same thing. And then I also put the November 2014 newsletter with it. But the main article was about food, sex, and attractiveness. And that was part one. You'll really like that.
You should do, I think, a webinar on that topic. So.
Oh, no, I'll do one. Maybe in a week or so we'll do on food, sex, and attractiveness. It's really a fun subject. It is. You are attracted to healthy people because healthy people are most likely to give you the best offspring.
Right.
So, and there are clues to your attractiveness in your physical appearance and your body odor. And part 2 will be about your skin and body odor and how they communicate clues as to whether you're healthy or not. This newsletter was about physical clues such as body weight, that when you look at somebody, if somebody is way overweight, they're not attractive. Now you look at times in the past, different eras in the past, you'll see that plumpness was actually a beauty sign, but you can only be so plump till you get into a reproductive problem where you have trouble getting pregnant and delivering a baby. And likewise, thinness has been an attractive clue, but you can only get too thin. And then what your body sees is somebody who's going to have problems with infertility and low birth weight babies. So there is a range in attractiveness where, and it depends a lot on culture and individuals, where a certain body fatness will be attractive. Right now, a trim body weight is attractive. And I gave you some figures in that newsletter, which have shocked a lot of people. Those are Walter Kempner's figures on what a healthy weight would be. And people go, I've had letters since I put that out, they tell me, you must be kidding. You made all this up. And I didn't make it all up. That's what Walter Kempner said. And if you look at the figures, I am 6 foot tall, and bare naked, I'm fewer than 150 pounds. Mary's 5'6", and I think she weighs in about 103 to 106. You look at Jeff Novick. I don't know how tall he is, but I bet he hits in Walter Kempner's figures, and so does Doug Lyle. And so do almost all of our staff members. They fit into those body figures, and that's just... And as I explained to somebody when I gave those figures, 35 years ago, you could have toured China or Vietnam or Cambodia, and you could have taken your scale and your ruler and measured people and weighed people, and you'd find that everybody fit into what Walter Kempner's recommendations are. I mean, it's only because the whole world is fat now that people look at these figures and they say, you got to make this up. I've never seen anybody that size. Well, ladies and gentlemen, about 80% of people are overweight, and the new figures are 38% of people in this country are obese. So you're looking at something from a different point of view. A whole different landscape is out there now, so that your TV commercials have fat people on because everybody's fat.
Right.
We can only relate to fat because almost everybody's fat, and
Exactly.
it wasn't that way once.
Dr. McDougall, next week we have a really good topic,
Okay.
which is supplements and vitamins, and I think
that would be fun.
everybody will. And there is a whole chapter in your book, The Start Solution, right?
There is, and there's also, if you go to the website and you look under hot topics, there's a topic called supplements, where I've got about 10 or 15 articles I've written on supplements. And just to give you the preview, I don't recommend supplements except for B12.
Right.
And we'll go over that.
Articles for people to read, to prepare for next week, I guess.
Yeah, if you go into that section, you can read the section in the Start Solution, which is just to be on the safe side, don't take your supplements.
Right.
Or you can go to the website and read most of those chapters free, and with more information actually on the website than is in the book, more references, more explanations. And that would be under hot topics, nutritional topics, and under the heading supplements. And I would guess there's 10 to 15 articles that I've written in the past on that. That's a fun one. Save yourself. Watch the next week's webinar, and you could save yourself $50 to $1,000 a month on supplements, and reduce your risk of death.
Exactly. And go on a vacation, or go to the Hawaii trip.
Oh yeah, the Hawaii trip is really good. And when you see the lineup we have for the Advanced Study Weekend in February, I think it's 12th or 14th.
Yes.
We got T. Colin Campbell. We have Esselstyn's going to be out there. Scott Stahl, Brenda Davis, some new people. I've got two really important environmentalists coming, Dr. Oppenlander and William Ripple. Some really, really important people who are trying to save the planet. And so amazing list of guests. Every time we put together an Advanced Study Weekend, I think we can't do as well as we did the last time. And everybody said the last Advanced Study Weekend was the best.
And then you top that.
Yeah. Probably the next one's going to be the best Advanced Study Week we ever had. And I'll tell you, if you're thinking about going, now's the time to sign up, because we always sell out and there's no room for you.
Yes, yeah. I can testify to that. I attended the last one, and it was truly a life-changing weekend. Wonderful.
Well, we expect to have you at the next one too.
I hope so. Well, we will let you go. I know you're very busy. You're getting ready for the 10-day program tomorrow.
I'll be seeing patients. Somehow people think that I don't see patients anymore when I hire Dr. Anthony Lim. It's because I need to provide better care for people, the best care possible. And Dr. Anthony Lim is a gift to our program. But no, I'll be there seeing every patient.
Very good.
And I'll be doing that probably, as long as you can get me to the clinic.
Until they kick you out, right?
Yeah, until you have to pull me off stage with a cane. I'll be there.
Very good. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in today. And sometime the next few hours, the replay will be available, and you should get an email with that link.
And thank you, Gustavo.
We'll see you all next week. And thank you again, Dr. McDougall.
Thank you, Gustavo. It would be a third of the show without having you there.
Oh, well, thank you. Those are very kind words. I appreciate it. We all love, everybody, of course, just love seeing you and hearing you and talking with so much candor. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you.
Okay.
See you next week. We'll talk about supplements.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.